Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Red Spark's Crypto Blog for your crypto and Cardano news. This is going to be a short video. I wasn't really intending to do a video today, and I'm due to catch a flight in a couple of hours, so I don't really have time for an in-depth video. But I noticed there was a bit of controversy around Crypto Capital Ventures interview with IOHK Charles, which is coming out soon. So for those who haven't been following the controversy, the issue is the fact that Dan from CCC has multiple stake pools, and so by having Charles Hoskinson on his channel, it's going to make him even more popular and attract more delegations, and hence allow him to grow his stake pools even further. This is considered an issue because it makes it harder for small stake pool operators to succeed. A lot more of the liquidity is tied up in these large multi-pools. And then this has a knock-on effect for decentralization. So if you fast forward that a couple of years, the argument is you'd end up with a Cardano blockchain network that's maintained largely by a handful of large multi-pool operators. It's something I've written about before on my blog, so if you haven't checked it out, go check out redspark.blog. There's a series of 3 articles, Pool Wars 1, 2 and 3, that I recommend reading. Pool Wars 3 is a bit of an amusing read, but Pool Wars 2 references this Reddit post that I created. So this was me digging around, doing research, trying to get to the bottom of the matter, because my view is this, and this was based on when I was a stake pool operator. I wanted people to delegate to my smaller stake pool because of economic incentives to do so, not because they felt sorry for me or they wanted to do good by the Cardano community and keep things decentralized. Those are all noble causes, but for Cardano to survive as a decentralized network, it cannot be down to the goodwill of people. It has to be down to some to the incentive system that's been built into Cardano. So I'd seen people online saying that small stake pools give a better return on investment to delegators than larger stake pools. So I tried to actually pull together the research for that. And in that process, I discovered actually that's not true. Like for like, i.e. when you've got 2 pools that have the exact same margin, let's just say 0% margin on both small and large pools, then the larger pool with more delegators, more ADA staked in it, that will give you a better return on your ADA than if you had staked with the smaller stake pool. So let's dig into that a little bit more. Let's say you've got 2 pools, one small, one large, and they're both offering, 4% margin for sake of argument. In order for the smaller pool to compete, you would expect them to drop their margin to, let's say, 3% or 2%. And that way, it'd make more sense from a purely economic perspective for a delegator to delegate to the smaller stake pool rather than the larger stake pool. And the larger stake pool, if it wishes to remain competitive, can drop its margin to 2 or 3%. Or it might decide, you know what, I've got enough delegations and I'm large enough. I don't really need to drop my margins. I'd prefer to have higher margins and make more profit. So that's kind of the game theory there, and that ought to work well. The reason why that breaks down is because of something called a fixed fee, and that's what this sort of post goes into detail about. So read this top bit here. But then really it's this Stanley Okita89 who did really all the research. So I'm just shedding light on what he's told me. But he's done some digging around, and essentially because there's a fixed fee component of the cost of running a pool, small stake pools will always have that initial hurdle to overcome, which means simply lowering your margin doesn't give you that net benefit that you would have hoped for. So have a read of this post, in particular Stanley's response down here. But essentially this fixed fee is a hindrance to smaller stake pools being able to offer similar returns to larger stake pools. If you got rid of that fixed fee, then a 0% small stake pool and a 0% large stake pool would give you the exact same returns. And that's when you get back to my prior argument where a large stake pool may not want to offer 0% margin. They may want to make profit. And so you have a ecosystem where small pools that are starting out, they're willing to forego profit and operate on a 0% basis until they attract enough delegators, and then they might increase it to 1%, 2%, and so on. So that's a broader discussion that needs to happen. Back about 6 months ago when I looked into all of this, I was told that Professor Agalos was looking into it, into the game theory mechanics of this. And I think it was mentioned in one of Charles's videos as well. But I haven't seen any change happen or any updates on this at all, which is a bit disappointing. And it's similar to the discussion around the K parameter. So for those that aren't aware, the K parameter determines the maximum size a stake pool can be, which I think right now is about 64 million ADA. So if you change the K parameter, you could reduce the maximum size, and as a result, you're not going to have such large stake pools. That won't really solve the problem, in my opinion, because all that's going to do is make a large stake pool break off into two separate small stake pools. So you're just really exacerbating the multi-stake pool problem by doing that. So for me, it's more around this fixed fee that would at least mean that a small stake pool operator could claim that they offer the same, if not better, returns than a large stake pool. And perhaps even we need some way where the fixed fee for small pools are paid for by the larger pools, as some way to help incentivize the creation of small stake pools, because otherwise you're going to have small stake pools actually operating at a loss if they are offering 0% margin and they're not being able to charge for their fixed fee either, which is supposed to kind of pay for your running costs and your IT server costs. But I think getting rid of the fixed fee would be a good first step, and then see how that gameplay mechanics works out. Do large pools lower their margins to compete with the smaller stake pools, or do they stay at 3, 4, 5% and small pools operate on a 0% or 1% sort of margin? So given all that, and given that we have been waiting for a top-down change which hasn't happened, I'm thinking that the small stake pool operators should get together and put together a SIP where we propose this. I'm not too familiar with how the SIP process works, so I might look into it myself as well, as it's something I've been griping about for a while. So I don't currently have a stake pool, but were the dynamics to change, so in fact, if you want to read about my stake pool experience, do give this a read. That's what I thought I would do. Oh yeah, so that's another important point. After my experience of running a small stake pool, I came to the conclusion that you really have to be a YouTuber first. You really have to be a YouTuber first before becoming a stake pool operator. That's with the current dynamics, the current setup. So if things were to change and it was meant to be a bit more of a level playing field, then I would consider, I guess, setting up a small stake pool. So perhaps I should help with putting together a SIP if that's what's required. But I think first it'd be good to have that discussion in the community. As I've investigated it, that was my conclusion, but I don't know what others think. But I think we should have that discussion. And if we all agree a SIP is needed to make a change to the fixed fee, then I'm happy to help out with putting something together with others as well. So hope that was useful and hope that adds to the debate. I think it's unfair to be singling out crypto capital ventures on this. In fact, if anything, I encourage, this is going to sound crazy, I encourage pools like CCC to have multiple stake pools, because I want stake pool operators to play by the rules of the game that have been set up in order to highlight any weaknesses in the rules of the game. So I don't want it to be down to the community having to make people feel guilty about having multiple stake pools, and the community trying to convince people not to stake to multiple stake pools. It should not operate like that. So by actually having multiple stake pools and by people being greedy and operating based on which gives them the better returns and all those things, that is the assumptions that was baked into the game theory element that Professor Agalos came up with. So I am all for that. Let's all play by the rules, just as Crypto Capital Venture is doing. And if we see weaknesses in the rules as a result, that's where we have to submit a SIP to then fix those weaknesses. So that's the way I approach it. I don't blame multiple stake pool operators. If anything, they are doing a good thing because they're shedding light on this problem. Because hey, look, I shed light on this problem 6 months ago and it got nowhere. But now that Crypto Capital Venture is shedding light on the problem, it might get somewhere. So hats off to him for that in a weird way. Okay, that's all from me. I hope you enjoyed that. If you like the video, then please give me a thumbs up down below, consider subscribing, and follow me along on Twitter to hear my daily ramblings. Other than that, I hope you all have a great day.